Coming up next, we have Castlevania Bloodlines. We have a bid war open. It will be closing any second now for whether they play as Eric or John. As it stands right now, Eric is in the lead, $25 to nothing. Nobody wants poor John. People are very divided on these bid wars today. It's not a whole lot of love for alternatives. But if the people want Eric, the people will get Eric. If you're just popping in, this is Pixels for Peace. I'm host right now, LT_Humphrey. We're here in support of Save the Children. When the worst happens, children are always among the most vulnerable and often suffer the most. Save the Children responds to natural disasters, conflicts, and other humanitarian emergencies across the globe with health, education, and protection programs that address the unique needs of children in crisis. You can find out more at savethechildren.org. And we've officially closed the bid war. We're going to see some spears. Just a reminder that while the bid war for John and Eric may have closed, we still have one for Symphony of the Night to choose the file name. That'll be run tomorrow. Currently, Blarg is winning by $20 over Alucard and DP Whale. You could support Blarg. Who wouldn't want to support Blarg?
Thank you very much. Sorry.
Yeah, the DD1 just gifted me.
See? Yeah. I just saw it. Oh, thank you very much.
He's great.
Okay, looks like we're about ready for Castlevania Bloodlines with vlackSR, and I'm joined with a couple commentators here. So if you would like to go ahead and introduce yourselves and talk about the game, and I'll leave that to you.
Absolutely. My name is No Diggity One, and I'm also joined by my good friend.
Tiagach.
So this is Castlevania Bloodlines. This is a Sega Genesis game, which, in my opinion, does not get enough love. But this game, there's a lot of assets and mechanics and whatnot that you may recognize from other games. But it is probably seen as one of the best Sega Genesis games that they released. Most complete for graphics and audio and music and
It's a very enjoyable game and surprisingly good about can play casual or speedrun. Speedrun have a lot of good tricks such as on CV4 like zips or damage balls here and there. But one of the things that makes this game be really difficult, it's about the super sub weapon that you need to stick around or you're gonna lose a lot of time.
Yep, you're going to see a lot of the mechanics, and again, we'll point out a couple things regarding that powered up spear, a couple tricks that will be that Lack will be utilizing in the run, and in fact, losing that powered up spear in some boss battles is a 25 to 30 second penalty, so very critical. And we're off. So first things first, couple things that you'll notice item-wise is this crest. And the crest is actually a power-up for the spear. So there are 3 levels to the spear. There's the base, you get the power-up, which ups at 1, and then a power-up again, which will then provide you the super spear, which will have that flame animation. One interesting tidbit right there you notice is that Lack just grabbed an invincibility item. You'll also see Lack in just a moment grab a book item. Now, both of these items are only available on the first stage. They only exist. So unfortunately, he did not get the 50-50. So that book item is a 50% chance of upgrading your spear. So a couple of other things too, mechanics-wise. You'll notice some of the down stabs. Now, Eric versus doing a run with John. If you're doing a run with John, John has the ability to be able to jump in the air and then also whip diagonally while in the air. For the Eric run, you actually can only whip straight when you're in the air, or spear whip straight.
Yeah, I have some major difference between John and Eric. Like Eric, he can walk faster, but he jumps slow and he do less damage. But John, he do more damage, and his jump is faster, which means his run actually is basically jumping and attacking enemies.
Yep, it's we always kind of jokingly say that John hits like a truck when it comes to those the boss battles, but the actual stage battles or the stages are quicker when using Eric. So we're going to be coming up here on the first boss, right after this bone dragon here. There's going to be one more screen and then the boss. Now the boss, I refer to him as the Grand Marshal, but he's actually one of the major sources of resets for these runs, because he is probably one of the highest for health, as well as one of the most random bosses too. So there are a couple things you can manipulate with, and we'll see what happens here. So first things first, Lack jumped right onto the platform on the right-hand side, and that's a manipulation for where he's going to jump into the screen. So he's doing a really good job here of keeping him in the right spot. Pattern-wise, again, could be random, but definitely doing a fantastic job there with that battle. It was very cool.
It's crazy how one unique stage, the first one unique stage, have so much RNG enjoyed, and you need to react about every single thing when you have the super sub weapon or when you don't have, and about the bosses as well.
This is a pretty fun screen here. So you're going to utilize the stun lock here for these guys. Right there, you see him how Lack just stunned the enemy in the air and followed up with a spear attack. So that makes this this particular screen almost.
And now we are gonna enjoy a little bit this auto-scroller section and this wonderful music.
So while we're in the auto scroller here, Tiago, do you want to explain how the water mage boss works as far as the manipulation?
Oh, so the water mage, he reacts about the proximity and the position that your character is looking for. So basically, he will despawn and respawn the opposite side that you're looking for. So he can manipulate the boss, basically just looking to the opposite direction and attacking him many times. So the enemy will understand you're not looking behind and respawn always behind you.
Awesome. And one other thing too to note, because it's such a quick trick, you may actually miss it. After Lack kills the water mage, there's a stage here with two knights. And the first knight, you're probably not even going to see him, even for a split second on the right-hand side of the screen. You're going to see, after the water mage boss is killed, that in the following screen, Lack is going to throw a item crash to one direction, and you'll see the enemy despawn from the right-hand side.
Yeah, this part is really cool. You can despawn enemies and do a kind of manipulation with an attack and try to kill the boss as fast as you can. But if you miss, you're gonna lose a lot of HP.
That was a really nice battle right there. Diddle recovery there after taking the hit, but if you can kill him when he's off screen, you're going to save probably 5 to 7 seconds over a regular.
Yeah, one of the good things about this game, you can like hold the stairs. If you're falling and have a stair nearly you, you hold up or down and you can keep going on stairs. Or you can just jumping and keep going on stairs. This strat can save sometimes in some spots from this game.
It's one of the rare Castlevanias that stairs actually work in your favor. So again, this is the other auto scroller component. There's only one other section with the auto scroller would be coming up with the leaning tower and the climb for that. But so a couple of other things that you're going to note here. I'll kind of set it up here before we get to the boss. But we're gonna see our next boss here at the end of this section. He's a rock pillar, and his hitbox is the very top of his head. So normally what'll happen with that boss battle is you have to wait for the entire screen to drain the water, so that way you're down to the level of the floor. Now, with Lack, he's actually going to be setting up and getting that super sub weapon, which you're going to see utilized for the first time in the run, and he's going to use that to actually start attacking the head before the platform gets down to the ground. So that should allow him to be able to do the quick kill. We see it here if we set it up correctly, that he should be getting the super sub weapon here just before he reaches that room. There it is.
He's doing really well. This stage is amazing.
So the reason why it slows down too is because this particular super sub weapon, they actually calculate the hitboxes for every single projectile that exists on the screen. So it's pretty processor intensive there for our wonderful Sega Genesis, but it does have blast processing, so it's good.
Okay, he grabbed the orb. Stage 2 complete.
That was a very nice boss kill, and got the swag pose, the crying. So this particular stage, the harpies are jerks. They're extremely random, and they can cause you to lose a run as well.
And you have the RNG factor. Some harpies just start to lagging around and don't die because they're losing her heads and keep going alive.
Yeah, when you pop off the head of a harpy, it actually requires a total of 3 hits. The first hit to kill them, the second hit that would normally take them out, and then a third after their head is popped off. So here's another skip too. You're going to notice a down stab and grab the door transition without having to... So a mini boss here. Unfortunately, Lack's a little low on health at the moment, but ooh, good. That was close. Unfortunately, when the Bone Dragon uncoils, it can get a little hectic out there.
Yeah, sometimes he can do like an unpredictable move and make you lose HP. But his HP is already low, so he needs to watch out.
So the climb here in the tower, there are some tricky aspects to it. The spawn of the Medusa heads is actually dependent on which side of the screen you're on. But more than anything else, I want to caution anybody who's running this game or plays this game to be careful with the extreme edges of the screen on the top and bottom, because the platforms can actually phase in and out of a hitbox. So you can be standing, if you're standing too close to the ceiling, where the hitbox for the floor will exist, and then a moment later, the floor will disappear and you'll fall to your death.
Okay, this is the mummy section right now. He's gonna do some executions like the basics of the basics, just to kill the mummies and pass through. Oh, he just dropped a super sub weapon and didn't catch that. Probably because he's on low of health, so that can be a little bit dangerous.
Yep. In here, we're going to actually see some manipulation regarding the positioning for these bone dragons. So there's a couple of different strats. The fastest way to actually go through this section relates to trying to manipulate how little lag is possible. So right now, you're seeing Lack actually do a spear jump. And the spear jump is actually one of the easier tricks to be able to get or killing these guys. But what you want to do is make sure that you're killing these guys off screen. That way you're not wasting frames while it renders. Otherwise you'll get some lag, similar to what we were seeing with the super sub weapon. All right, a very good section.
Yeah, it's getting close to the end and face the boss, the gargoyle.
The gargoyle boss has a couple of different mechanics that are interesting. The hitbox is actually active earlier than you think it is. So we're going to see if Lack is going to get some of those bonus hits that There we go. Yep. Got the 2 bonus hits right there, as well as the additional. And so you notice that already got out of the first phase very rapidly.
He actually got a good backup strat in case he don't have the super sub weapon.
Good kill. And again, notice that the kill was attempted to be as high up on the screen as possible, and that would also eliminate some lag. So save the... Now this next stage has got one of the most, or a couple of the most fun tricks, I think, in the whole game, and some of the most technically complex tricks. So you have there's a zip, and there's also a skip abusing some of the pixels positioning for the hitboxes. So Tiago, do you want to take us through the piston?
Oh, so the piston zip, the execution is basically you need to hit in the certain pixel when the piston is coming through the wall nearly you need to change the direction and throw your sub weapon, and that's gonna make you go out of bounds. And you also need to do some kind of manipulation with your D-pad to control your character inside the wall. Basically, if you do that wrong, you're gonna zip off the screen and that can be a rip if you touch one piston in the wrong time. But if you do that correctly, you're gonna skip all those zips. And he did pretty well.
Perfectly executed piston zip. It's also a crowd pleaser. So the next skip that you're going to see here coming up is going to be relating to the blades. So there's a room with multiple blades in it. And the thing that's interesting about the blades is that they don't actually have hitboxes all the way across the blade surface. So there's only 6 pixels, I believe, that are present for the hitbox. And they do a ton of damage. But because the 6 pixels are spaced... Ooh, that was unfortunate. Yeah, because the 6 pixels are actually spaced evenly across the surface of that, there's actually enough room for you to jump through it. So we're going to see Lack actually do a buffer strat to buffer the position for the blade and then actually jump through it without taking any damage.
The Frankenstein fight is pretty simple because the RNG is the same, which means it's gonna do the same thing always. So there's not much that we need to do. Just do the same strat and faster as you can.
Wow, that's perfectly executed. Yeah, that's an incredibly difficult trick. So anybody who wants to learn this game, expect to spend a lot of time in that room if you want to utilize that. That's
Yeah, those blade skips are so stupid hard. And especially if you miss, you're gonna lose 10 HP bar on normal. I don't know if you lose more HP on hard or expert, but on normal is brutal.
Yeah, so we're coming up through this gears room here. The next boss that we're going to see is the was it gear steamer, I want to say, or steam battler or something like that. But so this boss is unique because first of all, he's got a whole bunch of different patterns. So he's got some randomness to him, but his hitbox is only that center ball. But other interesting thing about this particular boss is that he is the only boss in the game that is programmed to have a death animation. So if you die, he'll dance a victory dance over your corpse. So kind of fun.
Actually, if I'm not wrong, if you die to this boss, he celebrates dancing or something like that.
Yep, he does a victory dance. That was a really good battle by Lack. If you've got the powered up spear, it's definitely a little bit quicker, but that one probably some of the better patterns that you could see for that. Ah, the Monkey Garden. This battle, or excuse me, this stage is a gatekeeper for a lot of people who are learning the game. In particular, because there is the swinging monkey, like bone monkey, a little bit later on in the stage that does a lot of damage, and I mean a lot of damage. So it's going to be really critical for Lack to hold on to the powered up spear for this particular stage.
Especially this first section, it's so brutal. If you miss something, it's really hard to don't take only 1 damage. You're gonna take again if you don't watch out.
One thing you'll notice that Lack took advantage of is the fact that there are certain attacks and motions that you get a lot of iframes from. The down stab, you get some iframes from. The spear jump, you get a lot of iframes from. So you want to definitely take advantage of that when you can. That'll skip you past a lot of things. And you saw that iframe abuse in a previous stage when we grabbed the door.
One of the things that I like on this game is the fact that the scenario affects directly the enemy as well. The chandeliers just fall to the ceiling and can hit you, but also they can hit the enemy as well.
That was a perfect use of the super sub weapon there. So if you noticed on the lower right-hand corner, there was actually a door to exit to another area. This game actually has multiple stages or a couple of different divergent paths depending on which character you have. So in that case, if you were to go to the right-hand door, you would not be able to progress because you need the whip to actually utilize a Indiana Jones swing, whereas you can't do that.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I like on this game about the different paths that you need to pass through between Eric and John on this wall.
So after this mini boss here, it's a fairly trivial mini boss. You're going to see one of my favorite characters in the entire game. I refer to them as the inappropriate Segway Knight. You will know him when you see him. But after, interestingly enough, that character was only established once in the entire game. And I believe the story behind it is that they had done a competition to have somebody design a character for a Castlevania game, an enemy for a Castlevania game. And that was what they came up with. So only used once, along with the Machine Gun Knight.
This is one of the boss that I took a look on speedruns, and the runners do different, each one does different strats because the attacks from this boss are just based at where your character is. And I prefer to do that in the edge, in the right edge, because it's more safe for me, but some people do it in the middle, other doing a little bit on the left side, other a little bit on the right side. It's pretty cool how different strats we can get on that.
So now we're going to face up against the Princess of Moss, or Mothra Lady, as I call her. And she has two phases, and when you have the super sub weapon, that definitely helps. So you're going to utilize the positioning. So everybody's got a different strat as to whether or not they want to position. I usually go to the right-hand side. But this one's kind of a tricky boss there. You'll notice all of the pollen being dropped. So Lack did a nice job there with a backup strat. Missed a couple of the earlier hits when trying to position the lady stage on the right-hand side. But overall did a very nice.
And the moth is over. Now at level 5 is complete. Let's go to the last stage from the game. Final stage starts.
We're going to get a wonderful staple of video game trope here, and we're going to get a refight stage here when we get to death. So this stage also introduces a couple of mechanics that are nowhere else in the game. So you'll notice the strangeness of the display. When you're playing this level, watch your feet.
Yeah, remember, your game is not glitched at all. It's just the game.
It looks like a ate an input there, unfortunately. So this screen, 6.2 and then 6.3 are probably some of the most difficult for a lot of people to start to learn, because this screen obviously has the strangeness where it splits the screen up, and then 6.3 you actually change your perspective a little bit, and it flips your controls, and you'll see that in just a moment. Don't adjust your screens or your Twitch streams full.
Technically, he still have a chance to grab the super sub weapon until a little before the boss rush if he hits candles enough.
Yep, the troll hallway has a lot of candles. So the one thing we didn't explain too with the candles is you'll notice that all of the double candles contain a crystal, so sub-weapon ammo, or they'll have a money bag. The single candles, the big ones, are ones that contain a sub-weapon.
This hall is pretty interesting because have this crazy armor running through, waiting for you to rip your run and your super sub weapon.
Yep, it's incredibly important from this point on that Lack maintain the super sub weapon, at least through the Elizabeth battle. The other reason too why it's so important is because we're going to be refighting that Bone Pillar boss, the one that we did the quick kill on before. And if you have to revert back to an earlier strategy, it's so we're going to start with gears. In the refights, they actually all have half of their original health. So these can be pretty trivial as long as you are careful with what you're doing. Lack being very conservative there, but rightfully so. Meat explosion! And the gargoyle again. Again, you'll see how quickly we can get through the various phases because of not only the powered up spear but also the half health.
Yeah, the gargoyle doesn't have any chance. Like, it's gonna just dancing here and there and die.
Sometimes the gargoyle can get a lucky hit off, but you just got to be careful with it. But again, powered up spear is what makes it happen. If you do not have the powered up spear into this boss rush, you're going to take a severe penalty. So spam the super sub weapon when you fall into this room, and you'll notice that I took half the health right off the bat. And that relates to the hitbox, the calculation of the hitbox. When you first enter the room, it's the only time that you actually get that severe of a damage. It's almost like a...
Okay, here we go to that fight.
Ooh, that was very unfortunate hit.
Yeah, as we said before about this game, it's totally dependent about super sub weapon if you want to do a decent PB. If you get one hit only on the boss fight, it's really brutal how much time you're gonna lose.
So this next battle, this is the Elizabeth Bartley battle. There are two phases. There's the Medusa phase and then the actual Elizabeth phase. The Medusa phase can be manipulated. If you look on the floor, you'll see those hash marks, the one that Lack is standing over. You can use that as a positioning to be able to set yourself up for your attacks. So for the most part, Medusa can't hit you at all as long as you're careful with it. And you can take advantage of that and just continue to just whack your spear. Again, that hit wasn't as critical because we had already lost the super sub. This section here, we're going to be abusing a mechanic as it relates to the spawn of the enemy. So, looks like Lack's actually not going to utilize the axe strat until a little bit later. So, you can actually use the axe and hit her on the first available frame that her hitbox appears. But her spawn is also dependent on which side of the center line of the screen you're standing on. This is definitely the battle that us speedrunners hate the most because it's so boring.
It's too long and it's boring as well because we already know what to do and it's just here and there, jump and attack, you're throwing the axe, wait, she respawn again, and that's it. You can't just skip. It's just, you just need to keep hitting and here and there.
Yep, and you'll notice all those orbs that when Lack hits Elizabeth, those orbs get destroyed. So if you don't hit her in the time frame while the orb is flying around, she'll actually use that to spawn an attack against you. So that's where the danger happens. And some of those attacks are actually pretty brutal. So you don't want to be in a position. There we go. Okay, we're seeing the axe strat there. You'll notice that, again, that the instant that her hitbox becomes active, she's taking damage. So this is by far the fastest way to But if you had the powered up spear, you actually will knock out, I believe, 2 cycles, 1 or 2 cycles of this battle. So that's why it's, I want to say 1, and that'll save you 20 to 25. So Tiago, tell me about Drac.
Dracula is a jerk. He have 3 forms on this game. Like, the first one is the classic. He's gonna respawn here and there, and you need just to realize where he's gonna respawn. It's not a mystery because it takes him longer to he appear. The second phase is like the Shafter. It's like a fusion between Death and Dracula or something like that, and you need to just do the basic, like hit here and there. Don't let he go faster too much over you, or you're gonna lose some HP, which is bad. And the last phase is like a very great Demon Dracula. It's a fusion between both Dracula, like Dracula phase 1 and phase 2. But it's a cheesy battle actually.
Yep, so Lack's doing a very nice job. Again, it's a matter of execution just to get through this phase. It should be fairly trivial for anybody playing it. The second phase, you can actually manipulate a few things and try to get the quick kill. The quick kill would be actually killing Dracula before the first 2 fireballs that spawn from the side of the screen and come center have completed their path. But that requires the powered up spear. Yep, and when he goes to the split fireball, just reach up and spear. Now we're going to see a manipulation here for third phase. We refer to that as just stabbing the foot. So you can actually stun lock Dracula through the first 2 phases. Pretty easy.
Just pay attention the position that you are to hit well and just mash up and attack.
So for this final phase, you'll notice that Dracula changes color, and depending on which color he is, it will indicate whether or not his hitbox is active. So we're coming up here. When Lack collects the crystal, good kill, then that'll be time.
Yeah, pretty easy fight for runners, very difficult fight for casual.
That was a very good run considering some of the deaths there. Did a very nice job of recovering from that.
And final stage cleared. GG. Great run so far.
And 32:57 I'm seeing on the timer. So again, a very good run considering some of the challenges there, and good run for a marathon. My timed run is 34:02. Tiago's got me beat a little bit on that. So again, we definitely seeing that skill, that experience, and a lot of those advanced strats that Lack brought to the table. So very impressed. Congratulations, great run. And appreciate the opportunity to be able to commentate here for Pixels for Peace, and for a very worthy cause.
Yeah, for me as well, guys. Thanks so much for everything that you're doing for this marathon, about just to help the kids, and about every runner here as well. Everyone is here as a voluntary. Nobody got paid or something. We are doing this all for charity. And here's Tiagach, and I'm saying goodbye.
Thank you very much, Lack, for that wonderful run, and thank you to the commentators as well. Thanks everyone for watching Pixels for Peace. This is LT Humphrey hosting right now. My shift is coming to an end here shortly. For the time being, we've got a couple of donations that came in during that last run. We have $20 from Mortal Cobra 91. Thank you very much. No comment, but we appreciate it. And someone you'll be hearing from shortly, Xantaman, $5. Good luck to all the runners. Save the children. We're going to go ahead and switch restreamers here real quick. So bear with us for just a moment.